Okay, welcome to lesson 41 of algebraic concepts. Solve absolute value equations. So this is the second of absolute value equations, and I'm going to attempt to give you a better understanding. So, as is written like this is not how we would solve. This is not what we use for a absolute value equation. So what we're going to do is simplify it. So we're going to add, first we add the 3 to both sides. You get 2 times the absolute value of x plus 9 will equal 17. I could distribute the 2 because I don't feel like dealing with a fraction. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to distribute the 2. 2x plus 18 equals 17. And I'm going to use this one. 2x plus 18 equals negative 17. So if we subtract 18 from both sides, we get 2x equals negative 1, x equals negative 1/2. Yeah, it does work. Okay, so if I stick a negative a half in there, I get 8. Negative 1/2 plus 9 is 8.5. Doubled up is 17. 17 minus 3 is 14. So now let's look at the negative. So let's subtract 18 and get 2x equals 35. Divide by 2, divide by 2, x equals negative 17.5. Negative 17 plus 9 is negative 8.5. Okay, 17.5, negative 8.5, it still works. Okay, so that is that. So you don't use the anything that's added or subtracted to the absolute value. You have to use your absolute value only equal to a number as your negative association. So I hope that's clearer. I don't know if I explained that well enough in the last video, but let's do it again. Our next. Okay, let's look at example 2 here. So we have a negative on the outside, so we are going to divide both sides by negative 1. Because this negative is on the outside, this means that this is negative 1. So I want to get rid of this before I start solving any of the problem. So I get 14n plus 2 is equal to 7. That's our positive case. And then for our negative case, we have 14n plus 2 is equal to negative 7. So you need a positive and negative case. The absolute value of A is equal to 7 and negative 7, just like in our rules. So I'll subtract 2 from both sides. I get 14n equals 5. And then I divide by 14 on both sides. And n will equal to 5 over 14. When I put that in, the 14's cancel out. I get 5 plus 2 is 7. Times it by negative, and I get negative 7. Okay, that works. So let's see if this one works. I subtract 2 from both sides. I get 14n equals negative 9. Divide by 14. N equals negative 9 over 14. If I stick that in for n, the 14s cancel out. Negative 9 plus 2 is negative 7. The absolute value of negative 7 is positive 7. And then multiplying by negative 1. So it works. So here are our two answers. Okay, let's look at example 3. So we are going to subtract 20 from both sides. X minus 8 equals 0, and x equals 8. Now, what's strange about this case is this would be the equation you would use and there is 0 is neither positive nor negative, so there should be a negative case for this one. And so what I was trying to say is that 0 is not positive nor negative, so there is no negative case because it's 0. Once you stick a 0 in here, an 8, and you get 0, there's no other number that will give you 0 on the inside of this absolute value. So be careful with cases like this. Remember, you have to solve the first step if there's any addition or subtraction, and this is the one that you need a negative and positive case for. So 0 is not negative, nor is it positive. So this is the only number that works for this example. All right, looking at example 4, let's do this one. Let's subtract 7 from both sides. Y plus 2 equals negative 6. Now, this does not work. There's no absolute value that will give you a negative number. So there's no solution to this problem. There's no number y you can stick in, not a 1, that will come out of absolute value and be negative. So this does not work. Or no solutions is the proper math way to say it. There are no solutions for this one. And why? The absolute value cannot give you a negative. It can only give you a positive. Absolute value is positive. And those were our examples. So please see me at the end of the video for a recap. Okay, so again, we add 4 to both sides. We get the absolute value by itself equal to something. Now this is the positive case, but this also becomes the negative case. Okay, so now that we have our positive case, we divide both sides by 3. Then y minus 2 equals 5. Add 2, y equals 7. Check it. 7 minus 2 is 5. 3 times 5 is 15. Minus 4 is 11. That works. Okay, so divide by 3 on both sides. Y minus 2 is negative 5. Add 2, y equals negative 3. Negative 3 minus 2 is negative 5, but the absolute value of negative 5 is positive 5. 3 times 5 gives you 15 minus 4, which gives you 11. So this works. And you ought to check your work back. Minus 17, so y equals 0. And that makes sense. 0 plus 17, 0 plus any number will give you the same number. That's the identity property of addition. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is make our equation. We see that something is added to the absolute value. So we are going to move that 3. So we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. And we see that the absolute value, the opposite of the absolute value of 7n minus 2 is going to be equal to negative 13. We divide both sides by negative 1, because this negative means 1. So we get 7n minus 2 equals a positive 13. We have to add 2 to both sides. We get 7n equals 15. And we divide by 7. And n will equal 15 over 7. Okay, sticking it in. Once you multiply 15 over 7 by 7, you get 15 minus 2, which is 15, negative 15 plus 3. Oh, 15 minus 2 is 13. The negative 13 plus 3 is negative 10. All right, so this one works. Good. So now this is the case that we consider. We need its opposite. 7n minus 2 will equal negative 13. So 7n, we got to add 2 to both sides. 7n will be negative 11 divided by 7, n will be negative 11 over 7. We stick that one in. So we're left with negative 11 minus 2, which is negative 13. The absolute value of negative 13 is positive 13. Multiplied by negative 1 becomes negative 13 again. Plus 3 is negative. All right, so both of these work. So we get fractions for the positive and the negative case. So take your time with absolute value equations. Make sure you get rid of whatever addition and subtraction is there, and you move from there. That is what you work from for your positive and negative case. I just want to reiterate, I just want to say again that whenever the absolute value leaves you with 0, if this solution leaves you with a 0, which we saw, you're only going to have one answer. If it leaves you with a negative, there is no opposite case. There's no solution, as we saw in example 4. So be aware that you will come across that, but in very, very rare instances. So that is absolute value equations. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.